A few weeks ago, we did a Pride podcast with being Pride Month, and even when this goes out, it'll still be Pride Month. But what we wanted to do is there were some things we wanted to respond to, but for time's sake, there was one great question that was asked. Just one other, not necessarily question, but thought I want to encourage you with is would you just listen beyond your offense? I don't live in the comment section. I actually just ask people for kind of the narrative in there. And what I'll hear a lot and what I see a lot with stuff that I'm involved with is people stop listening when they get offended. And whenever, and you know that because people will start saying things that if they listened a few minutes later, they would realize there is agreement, there is places for unity, some of that. The reason I say that is not because we don't want posts or comments that disagree. We're actually great with that. My greater concern is that there's believers living their life out there who close their ears when they get offended. And if that's the case, how are you ever going to be in a relationship with people who are far from God, which is a passion of Jesus's. It's a passion of ours, but that doesn't matter. It's a passion of Jesus's. You can tell by how he lived his life. But there was a great question, and I won't read it all, but I just enough to get the gist of it. And this was sent in, and it just says, hey, it's about that Pride podcast, but it said, hey, this is excellent. Didn't vibe with all that was discussed, which they referenced what we said, never a perfect conversation, but felt like the intention was 100% towards the gospel, which that was our goal. But one thing that would be good to hear more or a conversation for the future would how to be a family and provide community to those who are same-sex attracted or transgender. How can the church be a church for them, especially if they aren't able to be married, to have kids? The same could be said for a single person in general, widows, widowers. And so, again, that's really the gist of the question. Yeah, and to be specific towards the question around how can the church be a family, it really is not, it's not any different than how the church is a family towards anyone else struggling with anything else, right?
Yeah.
So the really big issue for this is, which was including the question, is the church, like how is it a family to someone who says, to honor the Lord, I am going to give up my fleshly desire for a family this way. If they're same-sex attracted or things like that they're going to forego this desire they have. And so, and I really do think it's the church's responsibility to step in that gap. And so, and again, I just want to encourage you, which some people don't agree with this, and that's fine. I really feel pretty strongly that the Lord would, and so I feel pretty good about it. But we had some transgender female in our life that we invited to our home for dinner, sat around the table. All three of our little kids were at the table, and we didn't set that up for our kids beforehand, or anything like that. But the reason that we did that, the reason that we feel comfortable doing that is more important, even more important than my kids' like physical safety or emotional safety or what, which I care desperately about. I care about this person's eternal safety. And so if I
Not to say that our kids were in any danger.
No. Yeah. Sorry.
We don't believe that inherently because you struggle with something, there's danger.
No. Yeah. I just meant in general, not in that situation, but there are people who would question the spiritual or emotional safety of our kids just being there.
Right.
The confusion it would cause. But I'd push that, hey, there's some lack of faith there. Got something that Pastor Mike Baker, who's one of our friends, and people, they think about raising kids in this climate, this division, and he says that God specifically, like, your kid was born in this specific time for this specific reason, just like Queen Esther was. And the chances that you're born, I don't know if you ever looked into the chances of you being born of that sperm and that egg, but it's astronomical. It's billions and billions to one. And so the Lord, it's so specific, especially if you're a believer and you believe that the Lord, again, has a purpose for you. But either way, we digress.
But it was just powerful to say, hey, we love you. Your home is a private place, and there's some things that culture says that we just ascribe to, that we just never ask a question about. It's not meant to be intentionally, dishonoring. It's just, oh, well, I'm not going to let them be in my house because it's, supposed to be this way. And I would just challenge you to ask the question of, hey, what's the purpose of your home? When you pick out your house and you're buying a home, or when you are setting up your schedule, when you buy groceries, what's the purpose of your home? And Zac and I have all, and maybe you aren't in a place to do this yet or whatever, but Zac and I, from when we had no money and we're living in our 1-bedroom apartment, we're still hosting people, inviting people to be a part of our home and a part of our life, because it's not ours anymore.